Yeah, so actually, just to give a brief summary of the wishlist ideas that you just discussed, you mentioned right off the bat some of them that are very interesting. So, for example, stacks and Bitcoin dev tools, we're always interested in that. I mean, we're a dev tooling company, but if hackathon participants can think of new tools that will be helpful, that would be amazing. Bitcoin NFTs, as you mentioned, ordinals innovation, SBTC features, tools, and libraries, which if you don't know, SBTC is a big effort in the Stacks ecosystem to create trust minimized Bitcoin peg. So there's a lot of development going around for that. Also deepening the connection between Bitcoin and Stacks. This is always something that really, really interests us. Bitcoin DAOs, you also mentioned, and DAO tooling, and also integration with other Bitcoin layers, such as Lightning. There has been some innovation here, but we really would love if more people got involved in these efforts. So with this, I'm going to go back. I actually wanted to share these at the end, but it's a good summary. So let's just get back on track. So today I'll talk about some of the developer tools that could be useful for you in this hackathon. Again, I'm Rafael. I'm a staff software engineer at Hero. I wanted to start first with a brief introduction. We've briefly touched on this already. What is Hero? What is my role at Hero? Then I'll explain 4 different developer tools that I think could be very helpful for you. And we can just go over the wishlist ideas quickly again, just to wrap everything up, and then just do a small conclusion. Just encourage you to use our tools and reach out to us if you need any help, right? So as an introduction, I mean, we already mentioned Hero is a dev tools company. We build tooling for Stacks and Bitcoin. This is our website if you want to learn more about us. Again, I work on the API team, so I'll just move on right ahead since I've already explained this. And I'll get right into the developer tools. So today, I wanted to talk about 4 tools that I think could be very helpful for you that are built by us. The first is the Ordinals API, which is, as the name suggests, is an API so that you can use to query information about all ordinal inscriptions that exists on the Bitcoin chain. I'll go through some examples of the endpoints that you can call, the information that you can use. Also, I'll talk about the Ordinals Explorer, which is our tool to see all the different inscriptions in the web browser, the Stacks blockchain API, which is also a very important part of the Stacks ecosystem, and also the Hero platform, which will allow you to build smart contracts in a very, very quick way. So starting with the Ordinals API, this is a service that indexes all the Bitcoin ordinal data and exposes it via REST API endpoints. Right there, I'm putting a link to the documentation that you can go here. You can see with great detail all the endpoints that this API provides and some examples on how you can use it. But I'll go over some of the most important ones so that you can see right here what you can do with this API. So starting off with the main features, we have endpoints to get inscriptions, both information for any inscription and its content. We have endpoints so that you can filter inscriptions by block, by address, by output with a lot of, it's very flexible, this endpoint. We also have another to get ordinal data for Satoshi. So you can get its name, its notation, its degree, at which block height it was coin-based, etc. So I'll run over some examples right now. This is a very quick example on how you can actually get an inscription. And right here, you're seeing a sample response. This is actually the inscription number 6043,494. You can see the ID, which address minted this inscription, at which block height, in which transaction, what fee they paid, the value of the UTXO, its offset, the Satoshi, rarity, etc. So you can have very valuable information that you can use for whatever purposes that you want on inscriptions. Next, we have an endpoint to actually query the content of this inscription. This is actually the same inscription from the response I shared on the previous slide. And in this case, it's an image inscription. So if you query this endpoint, the link that I wrote on the bottom, you'll get this image as a response. But if the inscription was of a different content type, for example, if it was a PDF or if it was just plain text, you'll see the content with the correct content type in your response. So this is also very useful if you want to build something that displays the inscription. Next, you can filter inscriptions, as I mentioned. This example, it's a very simple filter, which is basically, give me all the inscriptions that were minted at this block, right? In this case, we're looking at the very first inscription, number 0. So you can see that we only get 1 as a response, right? But if you put in any block after that, you'll see that you can get hundreds of inscriptions even per block, or you can filter by transaction ID. You can even pass multiple addresses. So all of this detail is very well documented in the link that I showed earlier, which I'll show again shortly. So you'll be able to see everything that you can do with this endpoint. Next, you can also get Satoshi ordinal data. So if you put in an ordinal number for a SAT, you can actually see, for example, at which block height it was coin-based, during which cycle, the different notations, decimal, degree. If it has an inscription, you'll see the inscription ID, you'll get the name, etc. So if you want to do or build tools that rely more on these kind of ordinal data, you can do so with this endpoint, and it's very simple to use. We also have a couple exciting features that are coming soon. We're aiming on releasing this actually very, very shortly, which is first supporting inscription transfers. So getting up-to-date information about who actually owns an inscription right now, because as you know, they can be transferred from one address to the next. And we also want to provide an endpoint so that you can query all the transfer history for one inscription, so you can see all the different the owners that this inscription has had, the values of the UTXO, etc. So moving on. And by the way, this is again the doc link. If you want to learn more about this, you can visit this link. You'll see the different endpoints, all the responses, examples, etc. Moving on to the Ordinals Explorer. This is a tool that we built actually based on the API that I just described. You can visit this Explorer today. If you go to ordinals.hero.so, you'll see that it's a very beautiful Explorer that's built using our API. You can explore the latest inscriptions. You can use the filters. You can get inscription details, etc. So basically, it's a front-end UI for all the different API endpoints that I just showed. And these are some of the things that you can do. So this is the homepage. You can see the latest inscriptions. It will be auto-refreshing as new inscriptions come and are minted. So you'll be able to see the newest inscriptions all the time. And you can also use the search bar there to filter by any of the filters that are supported by the API. Or you can just explore all, which is the next screen. As you can see on the top left corner, you can filter by file type, by Satoshi rarity, by date, by inscription number, by block height. So it's very, very flexible, very useful. And I encourage you to use this Explorer if you, for example, if you're building a tool that uses inscriptions and you want to show a link to get an inscription detail, you can very easily link to this Explorer and you'll see detail for a single inscription, just like this. You'll see the actual content on the left side and all the different details on the right. So this is also something that could be very useful to you. Again, this is the link if you want to visit the Ordinals Explorer. You can do so by just typing this link, and you'll see all the cool features there. Next, I want to talk about the Stacks blockchain API. Now we're moving on to the Stacks layer. This API is similar to the Ordinals API in the sense that it indexes all the information that happens, but it indexes the information for the Stacks blockchain and also exposes it via REST API endpoint. So with this API, again, it's a very, very popular API. You can query transactions, blocks, microblocks, contracts, etc. on the Stacks blockchain. You can query for NFTs, for FTs. You can see the history, all the mints, all the different holdings. You can query by address, etc. And this on the lower left side, this is the link for the API documentation. Again, it's very similar to the Ordinals API documentation in the way that it basically gives you all the different endpoints that you can use with very detailed examples, right? So I'll just go over quickly some of the features. It has a lot of features, but the most important ones that I think will be most helpful to you are querying transactions, as I just mentioned, by account, by transactions that are on the mempool right now, etc. You can query blocks, microblocks, right? You can do querying, you can do search, you can do smart contracts. So you can see all the smart contracts that were deployed, contract calls. You can perform contract calls as well. And then you can also use it for BNS names, which are very popular today. So .btc names, for example, you can query names, you can query subdomains, you can see which address owns which names or vice versa, right? As I mentioned, you can query non-fungible tokens, so mint, history, holdings, and you can also dive into the proof of transfer consensus mechanism on Stacks. You can query stacking rewards, you can see cycles, etc. So if you want to build tooling based on that, this is a very simple way to do it. So this is an example of, I'll just go over a couple of endpoints. This is get blocks. You can see that if you visit this endpoint, you'll see the latest block. For example, at the time of the screenshot, the block height was 101.250, right? And you can see the block detail, which is basically giving you its hash, its parent, which Bitcoin block does it relate to, right? All the different transactions, IDs, etc. So it's a very useful way for you to get information about Stacks blocks. And again, this is the link if you want to learn more, docs.hero.so/API. You'll get examples of all the different endpoints, a lot of detailed explanations, etc. Finally, I want to talk about the Hero platform, which is a very exciting product that we launched just a month ago. And the idea of the Hero platform is a very comprehensive tool that you can use directly on the browser to write, test, and deploy smart contracts on the Stacks blockchain. You can visit it today. If you go to hero.so/platform, you get a very detailed description. And also there's a very useful demo video that you can see, and you'll be able to learn about all the different features explained by us. So just to give a very quick overview, 3 of the things that you can do is that you can create a project, and you don't have to start from scratch. Actually, you can there's some templates that we provide that are very useful. For example, if you want to create a marketplace, if you want to create a mint and NFT collection, if you want to do swaps, right? Things like that. We already have template contracts that you can clone and then modify. So this is very useful. You can also build newer contracts. So you don't need to do any tooling on your local machine. You can actually do this directly from the browser, because we provide a live coding environment for you so that you can write and test your smart contracts directly on the browser using VS Code, which is pretty cool. And then finally, you can deploy these contracts into mainnet, into testnet, right? Directly from your browser. You can manage all of your deployment plans, and it's very, very useful for you to push all of your contracts into the main chain. So again, if you visit hero.so/platform, you'll learn more about this tool. You can see the video, and I really encourage you to do this. So again, going back to the wishlist ideas, now that you know more about our tools, you can use these again for dev tools on Stacks and Bitcoin, Bitcoin NFTs, ordinals, SBTC, deeper connection between Bitcoin and Stacks, DAO and DAO tooling, and integration with other Bitcoin layers as well, such as Lightning. And again, these are just some wish list ideas that were mentioned by Alex, the CEO of Hero. But again, there's just so much you can do, and we really encourage you to do them using our tooling. So again, just as a quick conclusion, you can use any of our tools. They're open source. You can see the repo. The code is all on GitHub. It's public. If you have any questions, feel free to reach out to us on Discord or on Twitter. And thank you. This is all that I have. Back to you, Albert.